Almost 25 years ago, I picked this box off the shelf in my local Woolworths, and I can remember taking it to the counter and hoping that they would ignore the 15 plus age rating that the game had. Now this was the old days, so of course they did. In fact, there's a good chance the cashier didn't even know that was a thing. And here we are, a quarter of a century later. This box has been looking at me every so often from the loft at my mum's house where it's been for decades. And every time I make eye contact with Lara here, it is like an incredible hit of nostalgia. It's funny how all of this big cardboard box packaging and things printed on CD-ROMs that you measure by megabytes rather than gigabytes or even terabytes now seems so incredibly old-fashioned and actually quite humorous to some of the younger generation. Not least because we all had to travel to an actual physical location to buy these things, as opposed to the endless amount of digital downloads and the new wave of streaming gaming services to come. There's one thing that many people of my generation and many people in their 30s may remember. While you were waiting for the game to install, you had, in some ways, the best part of the box. You had an instruction manual and a little advertising booklet. And these would come with a lot of games advertising different publishers or developers, various other projects that were available. So you'd have the excitement of seeing the game installing at a glacial pace. And then you'd be able to start reading the instructions, different things that you could do, actions you could perform, the basic controls and features of the game. And then you could also start thinking, oh, I wish I'd bought that. Oh, I wish I'd bought that, as you looked through the publisher's promotional booklet. It's incredible really to think that in just my lifetime, I've gone from looking at people installing games on multiple floppy disks and thinking, oh, those look rubbish, how old-fashioned's that? To now being a nostalgia fanatic, looking at games like this, thinking, oh, wow, this was so good. Look at that, how good was that for its time? Well, the generation beneath me and my sister, for example, looks at stuff like this and thinks, that looks like the most boring nonsense ever. And yet, somehow, the incredibly simplistic graphics of Minecraft have become part of the biggest hit ever in gaming. So, poor old triangular Lara Croft, who faced so many dangers and perils back in the old days, may well find herself back in fashion once again. Those really were the simplest and best of times.